Good morning, student. Today again I will come here with my new video of chapter 7, that is conservation of plants and animals. In my last video of the same chapter we had discussed about deforestation, what are the consequences and the reason for deforestation, and about forest and how the forests are useful for us. All these topics are already covered in my last video. So today we will discuss the new topic of this chapter, to preserve our wildlife, how we can preserve our wildlife. So we can study today. We can preserve our wildlife by setting up the wildlife sanctuaries, biosphere reserve and the national park. So very first topic that we will cover today is the biosphere reserve. What is the biosphere reserve? Biosphere reserve is a specified area in which the multiple use of land is permitted for preserving genetic diversity by dividing it into zones, and each zone is specified for a particular activity. Means this biosphere reserve we divided into different zones, and in each zone activity is fixed, and according to that work is performed in the biosphere reserve. So what are the significance of biosphere reserve? By setting up the biosphere reserve, we conserve the diversity and integrity of the biotic communities of plants and animal, and secondly it provides the area for ecological and environmental research. There are so many biosphere reserve. Nowadays 12 biosphere reserve in our country, like Nilgiri, Nanda Devi, Great Nicobar, Simlipal, Panchmari, all these are the example of the biosphere reserve. Next one is ecosystem. What is the ecosystem? Ecosystem actually it is the functional unit of biosphere which consists of the living and non-living component. Living means the biotic component and non-living means the abiotic component, that is called an ecosystem. All the ecosystem, they are interconnected and interrelated. Thus the biosphere consists of a vast network of all interconnected ecosystem. Means in a biosphere reserve many of the ecosystem is interconnected. And what are the function of this ecosystem? Ecosystem transfer the matter and energy, and secondly fixation of solar energy also take place in this ecosystem. Next one is flora and fauna. What is the meaning of flora and fauna? Actually flora and fauna, these are the plants and animal that found in a particular area is called flora and fauna. You can see here are different example of flora like sal, teak, mango, Arjun. All these are the example of the flora. Means flora are the plants that found in a particular area. Second, fauna are all the animals that are found in a particular area like chinkara, bluebell, this is the barking deer, cheetal and wild dog. All are the animals you know, and all these animals we call fauna. So flora, all the plants that found in a particular area, and fauna means all the animals that found in a particular area. So the next topic that we will discuss today is the endemic species. What is the meaning of endemic species? These are the species of plants and animal which are found exclusively in a place and not found anywhere else is called the endemic species. An endemic species is the unique to that place or region and not found naturally anywhere else. The endemic form developed specially on Iceland because of their geographical isolation. Some of the example of endemic species is the sal and wild mango. These are the endemic flora because both are plant. So these are the endemic flora of Panchmari, and bison and Indian giant squirrel and flying squirrel. These are the endemic fauna of this area. Clear? So the endemic species are those species of plants and animal which found only in a particular area and not found anywhere else. Next is, what are wildlife sanctuaries? Wildlife sanctuary is the area which is strictly reserved for the protection of animal. That is called the wildlife sanctuary. Wildlife sanctuary provides a suitable living condition to the wild animals, means the animal that live in the forest and that live in that sanctuary, easily they can live because they get all the natural habitat for living in that particular area. Some of the example of the wildlife sanctuary is the some of the animal that found in the wildlife sanctuary is like black buck, white-eyed buck, elephant, golden cat, pink-headed duck, gharial, python, rhinoceros. All these are the example of the animals that found in the wildlife sanctuary. At present, 492 wildlife sanctuaries in our country, and the Indian sanctuaries are very broad level forest, mountain forest and the bushland in the deltas of the big river. So next one is the national park. National park is also the strictly reserved to preserve not only the fauna. Here we can preserve the flora, fauna, landscape and historic object existing in that area is called national park, and the grazing of animals and cultivation are restricted in any of the national park. Nowadays in India is 89 national park, and the national park at Satpura is the first reserve forest of India. And other than this Satpura National Park is the Jim Corbett National Park that is situated in Uttarakhand and reserved for the tiger. Other is Kalanaur National Park in Madhya Pradesh. This same is also reserved for tiger. And Bandipur Sanctuary, this is present in Karnataka and reserved for the Indian elephant. So in this way there are so many examples. So how the wildlife sanctuary and national park is differ from each other? In wildlife sanctuary we just preserve the animal, but here we can preserve the flora, fauna and the historic object also that come under in that particular area. So these are the today's topic. Hope so all the topic is clear to all the student. So thank you student to listening me peacefully.